In 2026, a single company, NVIDIA, became worth $5.5 trillion. More than the entire economy of Germany. It isn't a country, it's a corporation. And money is the least of what it controls. The terms you tapped except this morning now govern your money, your voice, and who you can reach. Written by people you never elected. Over 2 decades, a handful of companies took powers that used to belong only to nations. The power to shape economies, to govern speech, to control critical infrastructure, even to influence wars. They have become something history doesn't have a clean word for: sovereign entities without a country, ruling billions of people who never cast a single vote for them. This is how the real map of power got redrawn while everyone was looking at the old one. Start with raw economic scale, because everything else follows from it. In 2026, the chipmaker NVIDIA reached a market value of around $5.5 trillion, larger than the entire annual economy of Germany, the biggest economy in Europe, larger than Britain, larger than France, and it's not alone. Combine the 5 largest American technology companies and their value exceeds the combined economic output of Europe's 5 biggest nations put together. Let that sink in. A handful of corporations, headquartered in a few zip codes, are now worth more than the economies of hundreds of millions of people. When an entity becomes that large, it stops behaving like a normal company and starts behaving like a power. It negotiates with governments as a near equal. It can move markets, relocate jobs, and reshape whole industries with a single decision. Money at that scale isn't just wealth, it's a form of sovereignty. The second power is one no corporation in history ever held: control of the public square itself. For most of human history, the conversation of a society happened in physical places no single owner controlled. Today, the global conversation runs through a few private platforms, and whoever owns the platform writes the rules of speech for everyone on it. Their terms of service function as a kind of private law, deciding what can be said, what gets amplified, what gets buried, and who gets erased entirely. These companies have removed sitting world leaders from the world's megaphone. They can make an idea invisible to billions, or push another to the center of global attention by adjusting a setting. Governments need armies and courts to control expression. These companies do it with a content policy and a ranking algorithm. And unlike a government, they never had to win an election to gain the right. The third power is the most concrete and maybe the most alarming: control of critical infrastructure that nations use to monopolize. Consider Starlink. One private company now operates a constellation of more than 7,000 satellites, serving millions of subscribers, providing internet to places no government reaches. It has become essential infrastructure, relied upon in disaster zones and, strikingly, on active battlefields, which means a single private executive can decide whether connectivity stays on or goes dark in the middle of a war. Read that again. A capability that was, for the entire modern era, the exclusive domain of nation-states, the ability to grant or deny communications across a conflict, now sits in private hands, subject to private judgment. When one company controls the pipes that a war, an economy, or a continent depends on, that company holds leverage no elected official handed it and no citizen can take back. Then there is the quietest power of all: rule-making without elections. Every time you use a major platform, you agree to terms you didn't negotiate and can't amend. Those terms govern your identity, your commerce, your reach, your access. For billions of people, the practical rules of daily digital life, what you can sell, who you can reach, whether your account survives, are not set by any law passed by any legislature. They're set by company policy, enforced by algorithm, with no vote, no appeal, and no constitution behind them. We call it terms and conditions. Functionally, it is governance. A government that ruled 1 billion people through rules no one elected and no one could challenge would be called authoritarian. When a company does it, we call it a user agreement and click accept. And to protect all of this, these companies do something that completes the picture. They reach into the governments that are supposed to regulate them. In a recent 9-month stretch, the largest tech and AI firms spent around $50 million on federal lobbying in the United States alone. Roughly $400,000 for every day Congress was in session. In a single recent quarter, a handful of them hired more than 300 lobbyists, slightly more than one for every 2 members of Congress. This is the final move. It's not enough to rival the state. You also work to shape the state's rules in your favor, to slow the laws that would constrain you, and to right the ones that won't. The line between the regulator and the regulated blurs until it's hard to tell who is governing whom. Now you might reasonably ask, is corporate power really worse than government power? Governments can be brutal, corrupt, and unaccountable too. That's true. But there is one difference that matters more than any other, and it is the whole point. A government, however flawed, is at least theoretically built on a social contract. You hold citizenship, you have rights. In a democracy, you can vote the leadership out. There are courts, constitutions, and the long, hard-won machinery of accountability. None of that exists with these new powers. You are not a citizen of a tech company. You are a user and a product. You cannot vote out a CEO. You did not consent to their rule in any meaningful sense. You clicked agree because there was no real alternative. They wield powers that look governmental while answering only to shareholders and themselves. It is power without the social contract, sovereignty stripped of accountability. That is the genuinely new and dangerous thing. This isn't an argument that technology is evil or that these companies built nothing of value. They built extraordinary things. The danger is structural, and it's about concentration. Too much power of too many kinds. Economic, informational, infrastructural, and political. Gathering in too few private hands. Faster than any society has figured out how to check it. History has a consistent lesson about power that grows beyond accountability. It does not voluntarily restrain itself. It expands until something stops it. And right now, the entities best positioned to grow into the dominant powers of the coming century are not nations with constitutions and voters. They are corporations with platforms and shareholders. And most people haven't even registered that the transfer is happening. So what can an ordinary person actually do in the face of something this large? First, stop mistaking these companies for neutral tools and start seeing them for what they've become. Concentrations of power that deserve the same scrutiny you'd give any government. Second, reduce your total dependence where you can. Own more of your digital life. Diversify the platforms you rely on. Refuse to route every part of your existence through a single provider that could change the terms overnight. And third, the one that actually scales, support the slow, unglamorous work of accountability. The regulation, the antitrust, the alternatives, the public pressure that has, historically, been the only thing that ever forced concentrated power to answer to anyone. None of this is as satisfying as a simple villain to blame. But the alternative is to keep treating a profound shift in who runs the world as just a series of convenient apps. The most important power grab of our lifetime didn't arrive with tanks or flags or a declaration. It arrived as free email, faster search, a better phone, a signal in places that never had one. We adopted it gratefully, one upgrade at a time. And somewhere in there, the balance of real power quietly shifted from the institutions we can vote on to the ones we can't. The companies didn't seize the world. We handed it to them, distracted and delighted, and called it progress. The first step to living wisely in that world is simply to admit out loud who actually holds the power now and to stop pretending the people we elect are still the only ones in charge.